G'day, everyone. This is Temperley here, and you are listening to and watching May the Rock Be With You.
We go. Well, welcome back to May the Rock Be With You, Cav. It's been about 5 years since we last chatted.
Well, I'm absolutely stoked to be back again.
Well, there you go. Well, let's catch up then. How have the last 5 years been for you?
um, Great. We managed to kind of have a large global pandemic, but in that time, Eskies kind of got back together and, well, not that we ever broke up, but we were kind of on a bit of a sabbatical. But we managed to get back together, put some new songs out, do some more touring, and put out a few solo albums as well. And then fast forward now to this week, and I'm kind of doing some rehearsals, getting ready to go and play some Fleetwood Mac shows, which is going to be exciting.
Wow. And that's what we're going to talk about today because it's all about celebrating Fleetwood Mac with Yesterday's Gone. How did this concept and idea come about or come together?
Uh, I'm not sure exactly. I just got a phone call one day and they said, would you like to come and sing some Fleetwood Mac songs? And obviously, being a Fleetwood Mac fan, I was like, yeah, that sounds amazing. Let's do it. And then I saw the other artists who are involved and was confident that it's going to sound good. I mean, I've done a few of these kinds of things over the years. I've done a Dylan version of this, and I've done a Beatles version of this, but not a Fleetwood Mac version. And it's always a pleasure to, even if you know the band. I mean, for me, doing something like a Beatles one is pretty easy because I just know all those songs so well. So you just go up and sing them. But I know with the Dylan one, which I didn't know the songs quite as well, it was great to get under the skin of those songs. And
Mm.
it's definitely the same with the Fleetwood Mac songs. I mean, I know Rumors really, really well. It's like when I kind of started investing in vinyl, that was one of the first albums I went out and bought because it just sounds amazing on vinyl. But there's a few other songs in their catalog that I didn't know so well. So it's really fun getting to know these songs, get under their skin, put it into my, musical inner monologue. But yeah, it's been great.
Awesome stuff. Can you give us an idea on how the show's going to work? Like, is it everyone up on stage at once like the band, or are you on and off with a different band behind you? Do you know how it's working yet?
Yeah, more on and off with a different band behind us with a few duets and then a big grand finale of everybody on there together. So they kind
Nice.
of go through, showcase the different singers. Some of the songs, I mean, like we're doing songs that are kind of also a little bit out of their catalog. So we're doing some Stevie Nicks numbers.
Ooh.
I'm pretty stoked that we're doing Stop Dragging My Heart Around because, I'm such a huge fan of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Yep.
So I was pretty happy that I got to be Tom Petty in that version. Funny thing though is going back and singing those songs. I mean, because I have a particular style of vocal, they're really high. I mean, maybe they were really high when they were recording it. Rumors are that they were, but yeah, no, I had to go in and sing them, and because I'm basically doing all the Lindsey Buckingham parts.
Yep.
I was I was like, oh man, these are like right up there. But then I went back and started looking at some of the live footage, and they've dropped it down like so many semitones. I mean, I when I wrote in because we kind of had a chance to kind of basically say, oh, what key do you want to sing these songs in? And the Chain, which is one of my all-time favorite Fleetwood
Mm.
Mac songs, it's just kind of dark and mysterious and feels like a real, even though I think it's credited to all of them, but it feels like a real sum of its parts. That song,
Yep.
even the bass gets a bass solo. It's just a great song. But I think that was originally an E minor and it was really high, and I was like, can we drop it down to D minor? And then I went and looked at some live footage, and they play it in D minor. Like they don't
Oh,
even play it in original key because it's a really really high. So
good.
so yeah, that was an interesting journey as well.
Makes it easy. Now, you talked about the set list and how you're going to vary it, but when you look at a legacy over 50 years, how hard was it to put the set list together for a show that's what, like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours?
Mm. I think it's pretty easy once they kind of get down to the hits. There's
Yeah.
maybe there'll be some people who are like, die-hard Fleetwood Mac fans, which I'm sure there will be at these shows, who'll probably want some kind of obscure B-side in there. But if you look at the list, it's pretty obvious what songs need to be on the set list.
That's fair. That's a good way to do it. Now, you mentioned Stop Dragging My Heart Around, but do you have a favorite track other than that you're looking forward to performing?
Funnily enough, I'm going to be doing an acoustic version of Looking Out for it's called Big Love. I always call it Looking Out for Love, but it's called Big Love. Um, yeah, that's a song that I didn't really know because it's kind of from their kind of early to mid 80s catalog.
Mm.
And the original recording is quite kind of, it's definitely a world away from what they were doing on Rumors. So I didn't really pay much attention to it. And then the acoustic version that they do on like a live album is this kind of bizarre, super quick, like, you know, finger picky Lindsey Buckingham song. So I've
Mm.
kind of taken that and made it my own a bit. And it's actually really quite a soulful song.
Nice.
And it's weird because Lindsey Buckingham's not a very soulful singer. He's a kind of a bizarre vocalist. He's kind of, I reckon he would call himself more of a guitarist than a vocalist.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a weird song when you hear him sing it. But to, like I said, to kind of get under the skin of that song, it's actually a really lovely surprise. It's now, you know, a new favorite song.
Oh, excellent. Looking forward to that. Now, what do you remember about the first time you heard Fleetwood Mac?
I think Fleetwood Mac were one of those bands that were always kind of floating around in the background that you're always, you know, aware of. And I
Mm.
think, you know, Dreams probably were, you know, one of the first songs I think kind of popped out, you know, The Chain, and a lot of those big rumors hits were really big. And you know, growing up in the 80s, everyone was aware of Fleetwood Mac. They were a huge band, but they were kind of like of a different generation for me. Like by the time I was getting into music, I was like, well, there's no big distorted guitars, no one's rapping on it, so why would I listen to this, you know? And then undeniably, I think, yeah, I think it was I was a really big fan of that classic albums TV series. I don't know if you ever
Oh,
watched that,
yeah.
but it was just fantastic. You know, they went in, they've got the desk, you know, they pull up different tracks. And the Rumors classic album is fantastic because they go into the depth of it. They get into the mythology, you know, behind the songs, and they really go into how that album was made, and you know,
Mm.
just, I mean, Rumors is such a great title because, you know, there's so much kind of interband politics and stuff that are going on. And that was the point where I was like, oh, this is a great album. I need to listen to this. And then I listened to it and I was like, how did I miss this? You know, but
Yeah.
I think I was kind of in my mid to late 20s by the time I really like sat down and pressed play and was like, this is great music. You know, up to
Wow.
that point, it felt like music of my parents' generation or something.
I understand that completely. And I grew up in the 80s with like Tango in the Night and all those albums that came out with Little Lies and all those things. And that's where I sort of found them and went from there.
Yeah, I remember Little Lies is probably an early memory as well. I remember that kind of being on the radio when I was a
Mm.
kid.
Good times. Now, have you seen the band live before? Did you ever get to see them?
No, but one of my favorite bits of live footage is Mick Fleetwood has this like drum machine suit that he comes out and does a drum solo. And I think I was like, when we were doing like, you know, back in the day when we were really doing the record company thing, and I think we'd gone into, I can't remember what label they were on. They must have, maybe they were on Warner's, I don't know, but we went into the lobby of a record label that we were on, and there was this massive screen playing this live Fleetwood Mac show, and it was just the moment where Mick Fleetwood walks onto stage and has this like weird drum thing where he's like slapping himself, but he's like violently slapping himself at the same time, and it's the most bizarre. And of course, he's doing his like crazy Mick Fleetwood face, so it's the weirdest thing to see. So no, I never saw them live, but that is that's my memory of them. And I have been doing a bit of deep digging onto a lot of their live footage now because learning the songs, it's really helpful to go back and see how they played it live, see how, you know, like if you make a record, you're trying to make a great sounding record. When you
Mm.
translate that to a live show, things happen. You know, there's an economy that kicks in where you're like, well, let's do that harmony because we can't triple our vocals or whatever. So I've been listening to a lot of their stuff to see how they do it live, and yeah, really appreciating it. You know, they're just a great band, but a kind of a weird band. They don't seem to like each other, but they love the songs.
Mm.
It's a really weird chemistry to watch.
It is. And it's just like when they got rid of Lindsay recently and got Neil Finn in and Mike
Mm.
Campbell from the Heartbreakers, it was I was worried about it. I went and saw it, but geez, it was good still.
I mean, come on though.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, you know, I again, as mentioned, I'm a huge Heartbreakers, you know, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers fan. But Neil Finn, I
Yeah. It
mean,
was
you
amazing.
know, they couldn't have done a better job. I really wish I had have gone and seen that show. I had a bunch of friends who were actually working on that show as well.
Mm.
So I would have loved to have gone and seen that one. I thought that would have been magical.
Well, as soon as we get off this, I'm going to find that Mick Fleetwood drum suit and watch that.
Yeah. And you'll kind of laugh, but you'll kind of go from a laugh to a
Yeah,
halfway through. It's kind of it's confronting, let me tell you.
brilliant. Now, the catalog is something, as we just talked about. I always like asking the question, I wish I wrote it. But instead of any other song in the world, it's a Fleetwood Mac edition. So is there one of their songs from their entire catalog that you specifically went, I wish that was mine?
Yes. There's quite a few. I mean, uh is it am I getting confused? It is Dreams, isn't it? Like
Mm.
thunder only happens when it's raining. Is that Dreams? Yes. I'm having a mental blank, right?
Mhm.
That is an effortless song. It's one of those, it's and the credit, what I love about that is it's got a great bass and drum groove. Obviously
Mm.
I'm a bass player by trade, but it's a really, it's not the kind of like when I was younger, listening to super technical sounding music. It was not the kind of thing that I would have gone, that's a great bass line, but it's just that boom, boom, boom. It's undeniably
Yeah.
just getting up your skin. But I just feel like Stevie Nicks, out of all of the, obviously they have lots of great writers in that band. Like they've all written mega hits. But Stevie Nicks has an undeniable likable. She's very likable. You just kind of want to be her mate. But I think that translates to her music as well. When you hear a song like Dreams, it feels like really effortless. It's like, and I feel like I enjoy her lyric writing a bit more than the other guys in the band. Like, Christy McVeigh, obviously genius as well, written some huge, huge songs. We were talking about, I mean, I think she wrote Little Lies, but she's also credited as a producer on a lot of their
Oh,
tracks.
well.
So, she was, a mega star in that band.
Mm.
And Lindsey Buckingham, like, so many of his, I mean, the chain is obviously kind of his baby a little bit, but also, he's guaranteed to make money out of car commercials for the rest of his life for writing "Go Your Own Way." I mean, that's a great song, and if
It
you're
is.
if you're a fan of the Song Exploder podcast, if anybody's listening and hasn't gone, and there's a lot of episodes now, but it is a great podcast, and they do an episode on "Go Your Own Way," and it's great. I mean, he comes across quite humble in this one, which
Mm.
I feeling he's not that kind of guy, but
Mm.
maybe when he's talking about his own music, he's chilled and down to earth. But yeah, I mean, that also a great song. So many good songs. It's really,
Yeah.
really hard to pick one. But Dreams for me is like just one of those songs that I just go back to and just go that, if I was going to pick one song that I had to listen to for the rest of my life off their back catalog, it would be that one.
Good answer. And I'm going to, again, today, I'm just going to listen to Fleetwood Mac all day now. Thanks very much. Now,
Yeah.
sneaky Eskimo Joe question I have to ask because you're out playing shows again, but amazingly, you're on the Good Things bill, which I think is ridiculously amazing. Who are you
Yeah.
excited to play with on that bill?
Well, it's a pretty entertaining lineup, isn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, you know, this sounds weird, but I'm interested to see Sepultura. I mean,
Cool.
they
I
don't
love
even
them.
they don't even have the two original members of the band. I
Oh,
think they're basically like their own cover band now. But when I was like really young and I was getting into metal and stuff, that was like they were like the heaviest band, and so I'm intrigued to see those guys. I
yeah.
mean, I'll definitely rubberneck and have a look at Limp Bizkit because they've just, you know, the reason why we have and this is a terrible story, but the reason why we have a D ring in,
Oh, yeah.
because of Limp Bizkit. Someone died at one of their shows, and if you've ever
Yep.
watched the horror movie Woodstock '99, it's it's like, though I get the feeling that those guys were playing a character through their whole entire
Mm.
career. The only reason why I say that is because Fred Durst made a really good movie. He wrote and directed a movie called Fanatic, and if you haven't seen it, it's actually amazing. It's got John Travolta. He stars as this like kind of fanatical fan, and it's
Yep.
it's it's really good. And that made me think, okay, maybe he's a bit smarter than he lets on, because if you look at a band like Limp Bizkit, you're like, yeah, they look pretty dumb, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. And if you
Yep.
see them at Woodstock '99, I mean, that's a dumb move to get people all riled up. But then I see those guys, I'm like, I think they're playing a character. I think they're actually cartoon characters.
Yep.
Um,
And
I'm intrigued to see them and to kind of separate a bit of fact from fiction there. There's oh man, there's heaps of bands, but a lot of them are really, really heavy.
yeah.
And it's an interesting bill to be on, but I'm actually excited, and I've had more friends text me to say, "Oh my god, I can't believe you're on this lineup. I wish, do you need me to come and work for you?" Than I have the bill that we've been on in a long time. So it goes to show that the blood of the metalhead runs deep in Australia.
Yeah, I'll be there, and you guys, Boom Crash Opera as well. It's just so randomly amazing, so good.
Crash Opera is probably the most random. We can
Mm.
we can hold our own on a heavy guitar lineup, but Boom Crash Opera, I'm frankly surprised about. We'll see how they go.
Well, a few years ago, the Veronicas played, and they blew up. It was amazing. So they know what they're doing.
There you go. There you go.
There you
All
go.
right.
Now, new music. We had your second solo album out last year. It's been a long time since anything from Eskimo Joe, though. Is there anything in the works at all?
Yes, there is. I mean, we managed to put out two newish songs over that kind of COVID period.
Mm.
And that was the first time that we'd really sat down and gone, oh, wouldn't it be nice to write some new music? And we did, and we had a song called "Say Something" and "99 Ways," and I mean that was a couple of years ago now. But and then we kind of managed to put some. Not that we're really into doing covers so much, but we managed to do some kind of Australian classics during the whole lockdown period called Lockdown Under, and that was kind of everyone. I mean, in my studio that you
Mm.
can see behind us. So I just kind of would record my part here and send it off to the guys. But yeah, we're definitely working on some new music. We're probably just chipping away at one song at a time at the moment because that
Yep.
kind of works for us. Because Joel lives in Melbourne, I live in Perth, and we need the two of us to be in the room at the same time to really get an Esky song together. But yeah, we every time we're together, I mean, I think the secret to the success of Eskimo Joe still being around as a band is that we genuinely enjoy hanging out with each other. We get along really well as friends, and even in our hardest moments of living out of each other's pockets and wanting to kill each other, we still manage to have a laugh about most things. So every time we get together, we always try and kind of carve out some time to do some songwriting, and sometimes those songs go nowhere, but we've got a really good one on the go at the moment, so I've got to kind of keep chipping away at that, and we'll definitely get that recorded sometime in the next couple of months, put it out early next year, so definitely expect some new music.
Debut at Good Things, maybe, first time played live.
Yeah, well, maybe,
Mm.
yeah.
We'll see
See,
how we go. Now, let's look back over your career because it'd be very easy to say what can change over time. But what's the one thing that's always remained the same about what you do?
good question. I think the one thing that's always remained the same is, well, I think songwriting and performance is the fundamentals of what we do. Like we have to have the ability to go into a room and write a song that people actually want to listen to. And it's not like we're scientific about it. We just
Mm.
write we would want to listen to, and put it out. But then performing it is really important. And those two factors, obviously through the whole COVID experience, that slowed down a little bit, but people were dying to get back out there. And in fact, that maybe that's the wrong words to use, but no, people were very much couldn't wait to get back into a gig and watch their favorite band. It was really evident that the one thing, I guess, that you can't replace in any of these experiences with music, is being in a room and being physically moved by your favorite band. Like I've been to concerts where I've been played on bills with bands like that Good Things lineup, and I've kind of stumbled across some band who I would never listen to normally, but then in the live format I'm like, these guys are amazing. It's like something happens, some kind of chemical reaction happens when you're in a room watching live music. So if you have a good song performed by a great band, there is no way to replicate that.
Excellent. Good answer. And I agree with you. I'm flying overseas to see a band in October who have got back together because that's where it's at, man. That's what you do.
Yeah, that's the new tourism. Bring it on.
It's the way to do it. Now, lastly, let's look ahead to the future. So I want you to finish this sentence for me. By the end of 2023, Cav Temperley will.
Wow. Okay. So this is gonna be a complex answer if you're up for it.
Yep.
So at the end of 2023, Cav Templey will have completed this project called Art Six, which is a first of its kind digital animated musical hub where we are about to crack into it next week. But in the studio behind me, I'm in a giant space. This is Studio 42, so there's 42 other studios in art studios in this space, and we are getting together visual artists, digital animators, musicians, and producers, and we're creating this brand new form of emerging art, which are these kind of like little kind of mini gifs that animate for about a minute and a half, and then we write in the room all together. Like there's four people in a room, so there's a musician, a producer, a visual artist, and an animator, and we create these pieces of digital musical animated art.
Wow.
So by the end of 2023, we would have completed that and put these pieces of art out into the world. And that's a pretty exciting thing to do, because at this stage in the game, to do something brand new is really to arrive at an unexpected location that I never thought I would be at. Is really exciting. You know, if I write a song, I know what's going to come out of my head onto through the speakers, kind of. But to work with a bunch of multidisciplined artists on a brand new art form is really amazing. So it's called Art Six. We're doing the first one in Fremantle, which happens in a week's time. So we've got people flying in from all over the place. We end with a big art exhibition, and then we're projecting the pieces of art onto the walls of Fremantle, on where we live, onto these iconic heritage buildings. But we'll probably take it out of Freo and do it in a whole lot of different places in the world. So by the end of 2023, we'll know whether we can actually do it. But we're gonna give it a go. So that's exciting.
Geez, normally people just say we'll be really tired, we'll be, exhausted, we'll have a new album out. Yours is probably the best answer I've had in a long time.
If you're an artist, there is no time to be exhausted and over it. You just got to keep doing what you do. Otherwise, someone else is going to do it.
Perfect. Cav, thank you so much for your time, man. Again, it's a pleasure. We talk every 5 years, so it's weird. We'll do it again in 2028?
See you about 5 years' time. Sounds good.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate your time. See ya.